Hi everyone, welcome back to another For Those Who Code video. This channel is where we learn and share skills about design and development. If you want to grow your skills and learn new things that's coming up, please like, share and subscribe for more. In this video, we'll be understanding about serverless functions. We'll also be looking at some of the basic examples which helps us to understand how serverless function works and what is serverless functions after all. So first question would be, what are serverless functions? Serverless functions are the functions that run in the cloud. This term may sound a little bit misleading, which means, are there no servers? Actually, that's not the case. Let's first clarify ourselves. Back in the days, we need to spin up our own server, maintain it, and pay it 24 hours and 7 weeks to run any functions. However, now with the serverless approach, this has changed to pay-as-you-go approach, meaning on-demand computing. In other words, we are paying what we compute. There are many providers out there to run your serverless functions, like AWS Lambda in Amazon servers, Azure Functions in Microsoft, Google Functions in Google, or Netlify Functions inside of Netlify platform. So in a sense, we are paying these companies for each execution of our functions and not a server in general. This will create a main advantage that we don't need to worry about our server infrastructure anymore. So I assume this makes a clear understanding of what serverless actually is. We'll be implementing Netlify functions inside of React. All right, with this understanding, let's go ahead and create a blank React project first. Meanwhile, we'll be also be taking a reference to the documentation of serverless function implementation, which is right here. Inside of functions, we have overview. We'll be going through step-by-step process of the documentation and implement our serverless function inside of Netlify platform. Now let's create a blank React project with npx create React app. And I want to name our folder serverless function intro, which will be fine for now. And meanwhile, this is being downloaded. Let's go to Netlify CLI documentation. Well, now we want to install Netlify CLI because this will allow us to test our serverless function locally instead of having to deploy every time that we push a change, right? So 3 steps. First of all, install Netlify CLI, whether it's globally or you can also install it locally inside your package.json file as a dev dependency. And second, you need to configure or create a netlify.toml file, or you can go to site settings and go to functions and add your path to the directory right here. But we'll be making the use of netlify.toml file where we'll be mentioning about where our functions live generally. And third, we will create our directory called my functions, and inside there we can create our functions, which will be called like following the endpoint to the relative base URL of our site. For example, Netlify functions hello, which would be a serverless endpoint for our file if we create hello.js. All right. Now let's go inside of our file where we created our React app, and I want to open this inside of Visual Studio Code. So let's expand this a little bit. So I've added and removed some of the files that we currently don't need, and we just have app.js, index.css, and index.js right now. And after this one, we will just stop our server, and first of all, we want to install Netlify CLI inside of this project as a dev dependency. As you can see here, we don't have a dev dependency, so let's add Netlify CLI as a dev dependency. So for that one, we can install npm install and Netlify CLI, and we will just remove the -g flag so that this install Netlify CLI as a dev dependency inside of our project. And meanwhile, we also need to create netlify.toml file, as we have discussed before, which would be netlify.toml. And inside here, we want to go to the documentation. And inside of documentation, we are currently using file-based configuration, right? and we can definitely bring in environment variables later on if we need. And right now, taking a look at the sample file, we have build and we have the base right here. So I'll just copy this one and let's take it over here. And for the base, generally we want to add the base folders that our functions generally live. So for that one, we will add functions folder, and inside here we'll just add our functions right here. And before we create any function inside of this, let's also check whether we have Netlify CLI as a dependency. It should be a dev dependency, so probably I will add a -dev flag, probably delete this one, and I will just add a a save dev, which would be fine. All right, so let's go to our toml file, and inside here we will add our base, and it looks okay. We have the Netlify CLI inside of our dev dependency, and let's go to netlify.toml, and inside here we have the build, and we will define our path right here, which is functions, and give a slash right here. And we also want to add some redirects if in case we have a different path that that we have the serverless API path that we have, right? So for that one, we can just go with redirects, and let's take a look at here. What do we have? And we have this redirects. Let's copy this and let's paste redirects over here, and from would be same as this. We obviously need that asterisk, and then to would be a Netlify / functions / splat, and then you will give the status code of 200. Yeah, okay, this looks okay. So now let's save this one, and we don't need this anymore now. I'll close it, and I think we are pretty much good with our Netlify CLI as a dev dependency, which is fine as well. Now let's go ahead and create our first function inside of our functions directory. To create our simple and first function, let's go to our build serverless function with JavaScript, and here we have a simple function which just returns a message, and we can customize this particular message and take this particular export handler inside of our functions. We will create hello.js file, and inside here let's paste this one. And one thing to be noticed is this serverless function would be called from our site at this one, which is generally the path we just provided inside of the toml file, which is this one, right? And if we just add a path to function slash, then it would redirect and give this path and concat it to the API path URL. So get that into action later on. And for the message right here, we want to change this message, and let's add welcome to my serverless grocery store. All right, we'll be kind of making a simple grocery store in order to add some groceries. For now, it's just a heading for now, and we will just save this one. And I think these are pretty much okay. Another thing to be noticed is our serverless function needs to be inside of export.handler. As we can see here, each JavaScript file to be deployed as a synchronous serverless Lambda function must be our export handler method for following syntax. So okay, and it takes event and context as a parameter. and definitely it receives an event as object. These are pretty much fine. So let's move back to our code where we just added our small snippet of code to get started with serverless. And to get started with serverless, we have a different port, right? So we added Netlify CLI here. So we need to add a script inside here, which helps us to get started with Netlify CLI commands. And I'll add this particular command here, which just simply says that we have a dev command, which will trigger Netlify dev. So if I just do npm dev, then it should, there was a small typo error. It should be functions. The n was missing, I guess. So if we just type in Netlify dev, then a port should come up, and the port should be running at a different port rather than just opening up our React port. So currently it's running on port 8888, so which is this one. So we'll be basically dealing with this particular port. The good thing is that Netlify CLI command acts as a proxy between the React port and the Netlify port, and helps us to bridge between that. So which is great. Now we can go to a different URL to test our serverless function. Before that, as you can see here, we have this kind of URLs that has been provided, .netlify functions. We also added it inside of our toml, netlify.toml file. We will paste this URL right here and press enter. And here we go. We have successfully created our first simple serverless function inside of Netlify. So now the question is, how can we extract this particular text inside of our application, right? So for that one, we can obviously call this as an API, right? This path as an API. So let's go ahead and make this change. Inside of our app.js, which is this one, we will make the use of two hooks provided by React, which is useState and useEffect hook. So let's import useState, and oops, all right. And we also make the use of useEffect hook right here. Okay, after that's done, let's first create and maintain a state for our messages that we receive from our serverless function. And we will add a new const for that one and call it message and set message. And we'll make the use of useState hook, and initially it would be an empty string. All right. And after we have this, we also need is how we can fetch that data from the serverless function inside of our React app. For that, we will just create another function and call it fetch hello, and which would be a asynchronous function. So inside here, we will add a new constant and call it hello fetch, which will wait for a fetch request, and we can pass in the URL right here. We'll make the use of template literals or inside here, and we will just add functions / hello. So you must be wondering why we added just functions hello, but we just tested it with Netlify functions hello. It's because we have something inside of our Netlify toml file, which is redirects. So if it's just a function, please take this as a string to concatenate before that particular path, which is this one, right? Okay, so let's create another constant and call it hello text, and we will wait for hello fetch and get the JSON out of it, and then we will now need to set this message to what we have received, right? So we add a set message, and which we will add this hello text dot message. So I think it would be pretty much fine. So inside of our template JSX right here, we can add a new h2. We do have h2. I'll just cut this one and add a message here. So it's the same message that we have, which looks pretty much fine, but we haven't made the use of fetch hello, right? So we'll invoke that particular function inside of use effect hook. So paste in use effect and write down with this and use a fatter function there, and fetch hello would be called inside here. All right, looks good. So after fetch hello has been called, it sets this particular message, which is printed this one. Now let's save this one and let's take a look at our port 8888. We must see welcome to my serverless grocery store, and we see some expected token at JSON position 0. Let's see why. I just renamed our const, and looks like it's pretty much working fine now, and we have received this particular string from our serverless function, right, which is pretty much cool for now. Now let's go ahead and add some tweaks inside of our React app here. The next thing that I want to do is I want to create some input fields, which helps us to add some items to our DOM right here. And basically we will call a serverless function which returns just that particular string that users enter. So let's add some fields right here. So I'll just add some bootstrap forms here. All right, I'm pretty much done with adding bootstrap forms here. It somewhat looks decent for now, and we have always have still this heading. We took it from our serverless function as just a string, and I added a form field which just calls grocery name, and we can add groceries like after typing here, right? So for that one, we will just need to add a couple of more states to our app. So I will just add another constant. I will add items, which will be our grocery items, and I will set items. So this would basically set the grocery items to the items. You use state, and initially it would be an empty string. And definitely I also want to render all the grocery list inside of our DOM right here, right? So to rendering that particular list inside of our DOM, we again need another constant to maintain our state. And then inside here we will add all groceries and set all grocery. All right, and we will make the use of useStat, and initially it would be null. All right, after adding this two states, we need to go to our input field right here, and inside our input field we want to make a tweak on the value, right? Inside of a value we can add item, we can add items in our value, and we'll also define our onChange handler, and the onChange will take event, and we will set items to event dot current target dot value. All right, so it looks pretty much fine. So we have made the use of set items, and we have the items, right? And now what we got to do is we got to make the use of this form here, and we will add an onSubmit handler to this one, which will invoke a function called handle submit, and this particular handle submit we haven't yet defined yet, so we will add a constant and call it handle submit, which will be an async function, and we'll make the use of our flat arrow here. And we don't want to refresh our page, so we will make the use of event.prevent default for that one. And definitely we want to execute this piece of function if we have some items inside of this particular field right here, which is input with the value items. All right, to check that one, we can just add if there is items, then we will execute this piece of code, right? We'll just wait for our fetch promise to resolve, and this would generally be an API call to our serverless function, and we will add a callback to this one and get the response out of it, and take response dot text, and also add another callback after this one. We will get that particular text and make the use of this arrow, and we will set our groceries right here. And definitely we want to spread all the groceries that we have earlier and add new groceries here, which is this particular text, right? After we added this one, we want to use set items. Oops. All right, set items, and then we can keep it as an empty string because we want to clear out the fields after we have added some groceries. All right, so it pretty much looks fine to me, but we haven't really made the use of else, right? So inside of else, we can just console log the something like you have not added anything. All right, so if there is no items, we will just print out we haven't added anything, and we still can make this a bit more better. Let's add a try block inside here, and if we don't have success message from our call to our serverless function, we will just add a console .log items not added. All right, okay, let's save this one. Let's take a look at the browser. What do we have? Let's hit a refresh. Looks fine, but the only thing is, like, we haven't added our serverless function endpoint kind of thing right here, right? So let's go ahead and also make that function. Inside here, I want to make a new file and call it grocery.js. And inside of grocery, we still want to make the use of export handler, which takes event and context as a parameter. And then we will return something, right? And the thing that we will return is some template editors for now. Yeah, the one thing that we need to understand here is we are sending the input inside of our serverless function, right? And the question would be, how would this input as a string would be passed to our serverless function inside here? Well, the answer would be definitely we want to pass it down as an argument to this one, actually with the help of URL parameters. So if you don't know what that is, then we will definitely take a look at that one. For now, I will just make the use of this one, and we'll add event dot I think this would be pretty much fine for now, just to test it out. Okay, so we can test this one out with the help of we aren't using this parameter, so we will just go to our here, and as you can see here, we added input as tomato, and it just gave me tomato, right? If I just add cabbage to this one, it will give me cabbage, right? So basically it's taking the value from the input as event.query string parameters, and we are accessing that from the event parameter right here, and we are just returning what is being passed in. Basically that is what we are doing, right? So we can further take a look and copy this endpoint, and we will go to our app.js. I will split this right for now. I'll close this one. Inside of our app.js, we will make the use of that particular thing inside of fetch right here, right? So let's paste that in. We'll just remove this one, and function grocery and input, and this particular thing right here, we added cabbage. This would be this particular thing right here, which is the items. That is the value of the input, right? So we will just add items here, right? And save it and save it. All right, this should work. If I go to my port edit and type in tomato, it's basically is not appending to our DOM. Yeah, but we don't have any errors, which is fine. So in order to append it inside of our DOM, we need to render the list of groceries, where I have added some comments, and we are listing some groceries right here. So after like we return this particular thing from here, we will grab this input and populate it right here. So for that, we will just we have all groceries, right? We have all groceries here. So we will just loop it over to all groceries. So I will just add snippet where we are looping down all groceries, and we are taking in item and passing the index as a key for our array that's being looped here. So as you can see here, we have the tomato there, and cabbage, and brinjal, and capsicum. I guess the spelling is not correct. Anyway, you get the point, right? So let's tweak a little bit, and let's add some fun element to this one. So what I want to do is we want to generate a random string that will just concatenate with this particular body that we pass down as a object to our client side here. So for that one, I will create another constant, or we can just add a name and call it fun lines. It will be an array where we will grab some funny lines that we are just concatenating and returning it to our React app here, and we will just randomize this and take one index with this one. So for that one, I'll just add array.prototype.randomize, which will be a function, and basically this function would return this math.floor and create a random number with math.random and multiply this one by this dot length. I think with this one we will get some random generated index which is probably fine. So we can just concat this stuff inside here and add fun lines dot randomize. All right, this looks pretty much good to me. Let's save this, and let's also save this, and let's take a look at our app. Let's add a real vegetable here, and it says object sports fun lines is not defined. Oh, it's full lines. Okay. I wanted it to be fun lines actually, because I call this fun lines here. Let's refresh it. And tomato method floor. Oh, it's another typo. uh, let's add tomato. Healthy choice. Okay. Cabbage. Healthy choice. All right. And again, chili. Green veggies, huh? All right. So yeah, this was kind of fun. Yeah, we added some random lines and concatenate it to our body, which later received by our client app inside of our React right here. So I hope you got the point, right? So taking this concept to a next level, we will let's go ahead and create a simple newsletter where we will have a name field and email fields and a send a newsletter button, so that it will trigger a cloud function where we will send newsletter to our subscribers. For that one, we'll be making the use of NodeMailer. So I will just quickly check out branches for now, because I don't want to additionally um, install React Router for this one. So I'll just check out branches, and I'll add a few tweaks to our code, and I will just save this one. I will rename this to newsletter. I will just leave this for now. We can come to this later. And inside here, I want to tweak a little bit. I want to change this items to name and this to set name, because we will have a name field, and we will also be having an email field. I'll copy this one and change this to email and set email. And also we want to check whether the mail is sent or not. Mail sent, set mail sent. All right. After adding this much state, we are pretty much fine. Now, inside of our handle submit function, we want to get the read of these items, right? We don't want this. We'll come to this later on. For now, I will just add some tweaks inside of our JSX right here. So we will add some more fields, right? These are not items, but this is email or name, and set name, and this would be email, and this would be set email. It looks like everything is fine. We haven't made the use of mail sent and set mail sent, but we would be definitely. So after this one is made, we definitely don't want to have our groceries now, and we will turn this one to send an email, right? Send. Okay, and this looks pretty much fine. For now, we can move on to our handle submit function, where we can send down our values from the name and then the email, right? So we will go to our handle submit, and inside here we want to add, we'll just create a try catch block here, and inside of our try and catch, well, inside of try block we will create a constant and call it encoded name, which should be encode URI component and name. Generally, encode a URI component will helps us to encode special characters for the URI component. So we'll create another constant and call it encode. This time it's not name but email, and we want to make the use of encode component URI component email. All right. So now after these are pretty much set, we will add a new constant and call it set email, which would be promised that we want to wait for after this particular fetch has been resolved. And we will just add some template materials for now and create another constant and call it link format, and we will wait for our sent email and turn it to our JSON. And for now we will just console.log our link format here, this particular thing right here, and we will also have to set email sent to true. I think we have made a mistake. This should be a boolean, so it should be false initially. And then inside of our console log, after this line we will just add set mail sent to false, I mean true, because we have sent our mail. And inside of our fetch, we basically want to grab these encoded values and pass on this one, which would be this URL path right here. And inside of our catch block, we will just simply throw a console.log, which is email not sent. And I think we are pretty much it. So the one thing is we haven't made the use of mail sent because it's a different color. Basically mail sent, we can use it inside of our div right here. Inside of here we can add some fragments right here, and inside our fragments we will add mail sent. If the mail is sent, render this particular fragment, right? And if the mail is not sent, render this particular fragment. All right, and we will grab this particular right here when the mail is sent, and right here we want to add if the mail is not sent, right? So this would be thank you, I mean the mail is sent, sorry. This would be after we have successfully sent our mail. Thank you, your mail has been sent. All right, looks good to me. Let's save this one, and I think this is pretty much fine. We have made some decent progress for our app. Now inside of our newsletter, we want first of all to install NodeMailer. For that one, we have to go to inside of our function and create another package.json file inside here. So cd function, and let's see what's inside it. Yeah, so npm init, anyway, and then we will just add npm install NodeMailer. So this is the documentation of NodeMailer. We will be going through that documentation. We'll be going through that documentation obviously, and install this one inside here. So as you can see here, we have another node modules inside of our function, and we can make the use of our NodeMailer inside here, right? So we will get back to our original directory right here and clear it up. And for now, let's collapse this one and let's go to newsletter.js. We want to grab this particular function example that we see here, and we want to tweak this up. So we will just grab this one and paste it inside of our export handler, and I think we want to require, let's paste it over here. We want to take this outside of export handler, define it up here, and then we want to add a few tweaks here, right? So we want to take our test account. Let's also remove this particular async function and let's format a bit. And we want to add a constant. Basically, this constant would be the query string parameter of name that we received from our React app, right? So it would be a mail to name, and we will get it from event.queryStringParameter.name. And we also want to create another constant for our email, and definitely we want to make the use of our test account right here, which is test account.user, test account.pass. And then inside here we want to tweak a few things. I want to place my name inside here, which should be this one, and I'll just add, and then do would be the same thing that we received from our event, and I'll just add this one right here. I think we can use template literals to access that particular value, and then we can also add text and some HTML. And one thing we have missed out is we have let's remove this particular function, preview URL, which is needed. That's fine. We have not added any return statement, right? So status code, we will just return 200 for now, and we will return the preview URL to our client app, right? So this is pretty much it. And mail to name, all right, mail to name can be text hello, and we can make the use of this inside here and change this to template literals. Yeah, this is basically it. This is looking pretty much fine and decent to me, right? So we should see something like this where our email has been generated and it shows up what we have written. So let's add person's name. I'll just write Ben, and email would be ben@test.com, and hit send email. And I hope this should work. All right, it works. Okay, we get the confirmation that our message has been sent, and we also get a URL that has been generated to us, which is great, from Node Miller. And we can open up this particular URL inside here, and here we see it there. And here we see it. Bingo, you have been successfully added to your email in our list, but it's a random message. And we do have this particular email, which is ben@redtest.com, and it's sent to Ben. So yeah, it's pretty much that what we wanted actually, and it was a test account, which is what we were working after. So it could be a real account, and you could be sending down spams inside of real account. So it's good to test with real. So yeah, that's how we configure and deploy functions inside of Netlify. So if you want to explore more, you can go to code examples, and you do have a lot more tutorials here. And you can also add and join forms right here. So yeah, this is basically how you create serverless function. So guys, in this video we understood and learned about a serverless function inside of Netlify. So I'm pretty much sure that you can create your own serverless functions now. Thank you so much for watching my videos. If you guys want to learn more about design and development more, please like, share, and subscribe with a click down below. I'll be trying to make more better videos. See you